This is part 5 of Federalist number 5. John Jay, in the last paragraph, kind of compared north and south of the United States to north and southern part of the continent of Europe, and he brought our attention to the changing climate in both regions, and how if you build confederacies based on that regional difference, or if you have countries that exist in these different regions, one of them, because of resources, because of climate, because of good leadership, might pretty soon become stronger compared to the other one. In this case, northern confederacy becoming stronger than the southern part, and this creating a problem in the future. So I'll follow with the next paragraph. They who well consider of their luxurious and they who well consider the history of similar divisions and confederacies will find abundant reason to apprehend that those in contemplation would in no other sense be neighbors than as they would be borderers, that they would neither love nor trust one another, but on the contrary would be a prey to discord, jealousy, and mutual injuries. In short, that they would place us exactly in the situations in which some nations doubtless wish to see us, viz., formidable only to each other. It says, look, if you build confederacies here and you think they're going to share some of the borders, they're going to share borders and they're going to be friendly to one another, you're mistaken. Look at history. Look at what's happened in Europe. So again, he brings up that by looking at history, being realistic about it, studying it real well, observing, you can see how what human beings do, how human beings react to things. So he says, if you don't unite and build these confederacies like next to each other, pretty soon there will be problems. And if you think other countries will not look for that, will not enjoy that, will not love that, because they'll make you weaker this way, you're mistaken if you don't look at your situation realistically. That's why he uses that, but on the contrary, would be a prey to discord, jealousy, and mutual injuries. You'll be constantly distrusting one another. And every small mistake that the other confederacy makes, you think they're just going to come after you, they're going to destroy you, and you react to it that way, and they in turn turn around and react to what you've done the same way. So before you know it, all you'll be doing, injuring each other, injuring the pride, the feeling, and sense of nationality, and that's going to bring problems for you. And then he says, for these considerations, it appears that those persons are greatly mistaken who suppose that alliances, offensive and defensive, might be formed between these confederacies and would produce that combination and union of wills, of arms and resources, which would be necessary to put and keep them in a formidable state of defense against foreign enemies. And he says, so those who think these confederacies will be acting friendly to one another are just not realistic, that they will be finding fault with one another, and sometimes they might feel like that somebody is cheating them in the trade that they're doing on something. And if you got three confederacies, then let's say one of the confederacies thinks the other confederacy, one of the other confederacies is cheating them, so they try to make some sort of alliance with the third confederacy, or they try to make some sort of alliance with an outside nation to give them support, and before you know it, it's going to be too late. All you'll have is war and distrust. And it again says, when did the independent states into which Britain and Spain were formerly divided combine in such an alliance or unite their forces against a foreign enemy? It says, look at history. Before Britain united, when was the last time you saw them to ally together, to come together when there was a war or when the enemy was coming to get them? It said it never happened till they united in 1706. They always were kind of counteracting. They were not looking at their own. They were only looking at what was best for them, not the other two. So he says we have history to prove this to us. So don't be fools. The proposed confederacies will be distinct nations. He says these confederacies, if we make 3 confederacies out of these 13 states, they will almost be like 3 different nations. Totally 3 different countries. Each of them would have its commerce with foreigners to regulate by distinct treaties. Each one of them will act just like an independent nation, and when they make a treaty with another foreign country, they don't think about the other 2 confederations. They're just thinking about their own selves. And their production and commodities are different and proper for different markets, so would those treaties be essentially different. Because different regions might have different produce, they might have different things, they produce different things. And when they make a treaty with another nation, the chances are there's going to be a difference between the treaties they make with one nation and another. And then if one of the confederacies right next to you makes treaties with these nations, pretty soon you're going to have a conflict, because everything is not regular, everything is not uniform, and that will always bring problems. Different commercial concerns must create different interests, and of course different degrees of political attachment to connection with different foreign nations. So when you deal with other countries, you have commerce, pretty soon you might just think that it is to your advantage to treat them better than your neighbor, because you think this is the way you're going to benefit. Hence, it might and probably would happen that the foreign nation with whom the Southern Confederacy might be the most desirous of preserving peace and friendship. Southern Confederacy might be at war, would be the one with whom the Northern Confederacy would be most desirous of preserving peace and friendship. So sometimes you see, let's say you've got 3 confederacies, the Northern Confederacy, it might be to their advantage to keep peace to be at peace with another trading nation, whereas that same trading nation might be at war with the Southern Confederacy. So pretty soon, Northern and Southern Confederacies will go to war against one another, just against each other, or they'll start a trade war. So it says you have to always think about this, that you make three confederacies, they're going to be just distinct nations, separate nations. They're going to act like they're totally independent. And you cannot expect them to, in that situation, to only not be thinking of what's best for them. But the problem is, when the other ones do the same thing, pretty soon somebody's interest is going to be, they're going to think that my interest is at a loss. So distrust will begin, and pretty soon you'll have war on your hands. An alliance so contrary to their interest, to their immediate interest, would not therefore be easy to form, nor if formed, would it be observed and fulfilled with perfect good faith. So he says, these confederacies will not be able to make an alliance, a good alliance, nothing that will last. So the only way out, the only way that we can preserve our liberty, prosperity, is to unite all the 13 states and stop fooling ourselves that 3 or 4 confederacies, if they were to be shaped out of these 13 states, they'll be at peace with one another. He says that's not going to happen.